Hi everyone, Liz here at the Mix and Bowl Homestead. Today I'm going to take you through my setup on how I start my seats indoors. I'm going to show you my setup and I'm going to let you know where I got everything from. So some of these things I purchased last growing season and some of them I purchased just recently. See, I have this rack and I picked this up from Home Depot as well as the heat mats. These heat mats are pretty wide. They actually come out of the racks a little bit, but that's okay. They cover the entire surface, the entire rack. So that was what's important to me. These were sold individually and I purchased 3. I have one here at the bottom that it doesn't have any grow lights as of yet. But I decided to purchase 3 of the big ones and just make that one-time investment instead of buying the smaller ones and eventually having to switch to this, and then what would I do with the small ones? But this is not required to grow seedlings indoors, depending on when you're going to start your seeds and how warm your room is. It is ideal to have it, but it's not required. But the reason why I decided to get the hidden mats is because last growing season, I had a rack similar to this in the other room where my pantry is now, and that room is unheated, so it was extremely cold there. While I did have some of the grow lights, I did not have heating mats, and all of my seedlings sprouted, but they quickly died, and I think it's because it was extremely cold in there. So I decided to start the seedlings in my home office instead. So I took out this little space and hopefully it would be okay. I don't have many clients that come home. Most of them I do most of my work virtually, so having it here is really not going to bother much of anyone. And those that do come to the house, they're usually friends of mine and they know I have my garden. But let me go ahead and bring you a little bit closer to show you how I have everything set up. So this is a 6-shelf storage rack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 way at the bottom. So I do have, there's nothing at the bottom, so hopefully I can use that for like storage. I do have this other shelf here with a heating mat, and I might move that heating mat to the top. It just depends here. And as you can see, these lights are a little bit different than the lights that I have all the way at the top. These lights from the top I picked up from Walmart online. And all of these lights, 5,000 lumens from Walmart. This ones came from Walmart online, and they do have the LED at the bottom. And this ones came from Amazon. I really like these ones because they can connect to one another, so that way I only have to have one plugged on the wall. So I got 4 of those, and then I have 3 of these. I have one more on the couch that I'm not sure if I'm going to use it yet or not. And as you can see, the heating mat goes all the way from that corner to this other corner. But what I like the most is that it fits snug from all the way to the back, so I know that the trays are going to remain, are going to have nice heat underneath. But I don't think the heat mats are 100% necessary. Plants are going to germinate when it's time for them to germinate if you give them the right conditions. But that being said, I still think that it is good because it will speed up the process, probably maybe about 3 to 4 days, sometimes even faster, so that you can get your seedlings growing faster, especially if you're already running late. Like me, I'm a little bit late sowing some of the seeds, and that's going to be one of the advantages of having the heat mats. But once they germinate, I'm going to remove the heat mat and then, start another set for maybe the things that need to start for the month of March. Now, I'm not sure if you can see that way back there, but I do have that small fan at the back. I have 3 of those, and they are USB. So I have a plug on the wall that has capacity for 4 USB plugs. But right now I only have 3 fans, and they work really, really well. And the reason why I have that is to be able to give the plants airflow, also to prevent mold, and also helps to mimic nature. When the plants are outside, they get that natural breeze that moves them up and down and helps to strengthen them. and so I want to mimic that for them indoors as well. Let me show you the trays that I'm going to be using to grow my seedlings. Now for the containers that I'm going to be using, I did purchase these trays and I got them from Amazon, and I like it that they have the dome, and it has this little vent. So what I can do is once my seedlings germinate, I can open this to allow air to flow in there. But most likely I will just go ahead and remove it completely, even if not all of my seeds have germinated. It does provide some humidity. You will actually see it through here. All of this will, create some type of condensation, and it would actually drop and continue to water your plants. So that's actually something beneficial. This is a 24 cell starting kit, and it has this watering if you're going to water from the bottom. So the next thing I'm going to show you is an alternative. Now I did purchase some pepper plants last year, and so I kept the cups. I also purchased strawberries, so I went ahead and kept these cups, and these are from some plants that I have around the house. Some of them have already died. I can't keep plants alive inside the house, but anyway, as you can see, I have them on this plastic container. And this is actually a tray. If you go to Aldi, they have like the way that they sell the chicken package in these little plastic containers. So that's basically all this is. It's just a plastic tray, and this is perfect because it has no perforations, and then I can just bottom water my seedlings. These ones I'm going to use for my peppers and my tomatoes on these bigger containers, and that way I don't have to repot them. They can just stay here until it's time for them to go out. And here's another example of things that you can use. This is a container of cookies that came from, I believe, Sam's Club. So all you got to do is just put some perforations at the bottom, and instead of and this basically opens. When you get your cookies, the cookies come this way. They're arranged here, and this is the top of it. But just flip it over, make some holes, and then you can use this as a dome. And then once they germinate, you just open this and leave it open. And then this one's for strawberries, and so the same, pretty much the same thing. They have a lot of holes already, and you can use this for onions as well, or green onions, bunching onions. And once they germinate, you just pop it open. This particular tray I also got from Amazon, and I got it to host this 6 seedlings tray. I don't know what these things are called. So as you can see, you can pretty much grow, food in just about any containers. Last year I used a whole lot of the solo containers, and I still have them. They will last you several years. But just to show you that you don't have to have this, you can just use pretty much any plastic containers that you can find to be able to grow something, especially if you're dealing with a small space, maybe a balcony, or just a small patio. You can use pretty much things that you have around your house. Okay, so that being said, let me show you a few other items that you're going to need if you're going to be growing your seeds indoors. Something that is helpful, and I did not have this last year, and what this is to be able to determine the temperature of the soil. And all you do is hook up this little probe into the soil, and then you will be able to know whether the soil of your seedlings is warm enough for them to be able to germinate. Okay, so that's in addition. You don't have to have this, but it's it's good to have it. It's just so you know that your plants are warm enough for the germination process. Another thing that you might want to have is a thermostat, just to know like the humidity of the room and how hot it is. And I got this little thing from the dollar store because trust and believe that you're going to make a spill of dirt. If you're going to be doing this inside, just pick this up from the dollar store. And it comes in very, very handy. And I know that they sell measuring things as to how deep you're going to be planting your seeds, but when you look at the back of your package, it's going to tell you 1/4 of an inch deep, an inch deep, and things of that nature. And I just basically got this wooden chopstick, and I went ahead with my ruler and I marked, and I'll take this outside as well when I'm planting outside, and then 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, etc. And that way I know, how deep I need to be planting my seeds. And if it's something that just needs to be thrown on the surface, I'll just scratch the surface with the tip of this chopstick. And this is the best tool I could ever have. Another thing that you might find helpful is a spray bottle, and I picked this up from the dollar store. When you first plant your seeds, they do not need a whole lot of water. They're going to be pretty moist from when you wet your soil and fill your trays, but you just need to make sure that they remain moist. So at the very beginning, what I'm going to do is just use my spray bottle, and I am guilty of overwatering my plants and literally drowning them to death. So I'm going to use the spray bottle to control the amount of water that I'm going to be giving them. Another one would be for your larger items, for your larger plants. Once they get up to a certain point, they're going to start needing a little bit of nutrition. So you can use, any type of fertilizer. If you use like a fish emulsion, indoors it's going to smell a little bit, so find something that if you don't mind the smell, then that's okay, but if not, try to find something more natural. And what I'll do, I'll just use the skin of my onions and banana peels, and I chop them up really small, and I combine them, and I just add a little bit of that liquid with some water, and that is what I give to my plants. And I actually use that for my indoor plants as well. So maybe 2 of these will come helpful. If you're new at gardening, another thing that you want to consider is to check out other channels. I remember a lot from being a child. My father used to grow a lot of things, like literally our entire front yard and backyard were, a jungle of food, and we literally did not buy any food at the store other than maybe meats. We did have chickens, but other than that, we grew everything else in the house. But I was very little, so I was just going by memory. And at the age of 5, and now I'm almost 50 years old, so I don't remember a lot of things. So what I have been doing all of these years since I decided to start gardening is to inform myself, and I watch people online who have been doing this for years. I go to YouTube, I go to Homestead Heart, Deep South Homestead, and also Hollis and Nancy's Homestead. Those are my 3 to go to. Now there are several other ones. I recently started watching House Tools and Big Dog, I think it's called, Lazy Dog Farm. I started watching them as well, and I'm learning a lot from them. So I am not an expert when it comes to gardening, so I tend to try to study a lot what other people are doing in order to be able to simulate it based on my zone and the things that I want to grow for my family that we do eat. So it's not every seed that is out there or that people are planting that I'm going to plant, because we're not going to consume it, and it's a waste either of money for seeds and supplies. And even if I say, well, let me try Brussels sprouts, I can't stand Brussels sprouts. I don't like the taste or the smell of it. Still, I watch these channels because I want to learn, and see what someone else is doing is the best way for me to learn. Also, reading a lot of books. Now, there are so many different books that you can get online, and this is like, what I like to use a lot as well. I read these books, and and it helps me to determine, okay, what am I doing wrong, or how can I improve something. And then you keep yourself a journal as well, and that way by the following season, like, okay, this did not work for me, why it didn't work. Then you can examine what you did wrong or what you can improve, or maybe or maybe even know, like, oh, I can actually plant more within this space. So keeping a journal is also really, really helpful. There are also a lot of free resources. So I actually created this binder, from the different resources. I keep all of my receipts of things that I'm ordering, and I have it separated by categories as to, like, for example, fall, container gardening, raised bed gardening, companion planting, flower gardening, harvesting, planting charts, kids gardening, and other resources. A lot of the big seed companies, they have a resource tab on their website. They have a resource tab, so you can click there, and they usually have a lot of free downloads that you can print, download. You just put your email if you want to be part of their if you want to be part of their newsletter. You can put your email address, and then they will send this information to you. And that's actually helpful because it keeps you at a pace, like, oh, I need to be doing X, Y, and Z right now. Especially if you are new gardening, it's kind of hard to remember, like, when do I need to sow what seed. So being able to download those free resources and making yourself a schedule as to what you need to be planting and when you need to be planting them, and that way you're within that window. May not necessarily put them exactly on the day that maybe the almanac calendar may say, but you're within the window, and which is what we're going to be doing today. Okay, you guys, so that is basically my setup that I have for growing my seeds indoors. So I'm going to make a separate video. My kids and I are going to go outside so that we can start feeling the strays and sowing our seeds. So until the next video, may the Lord bless you, may the Lord keep you, is my prayer. You all have a great day.